Do you remember the 21st night of September? Love was changed in the minds of pretenders while chasing the clouds away.
I don't want to remember this 21st night of September. That is absolutely true.
Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. Wow. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score live. Feeling our feelings after Missouri escapes a double overtime thriller against Vanderbilt. Maybe we should not call them Vanderbilt. We should call them Diego Pavia and Jerry Kill Vanderbilt. Would that make you feel better?
No, because then I have to hear his name more every time that I see it on a piece of paper, and I'm ready to move on from Diego Pavia.
Hey,
3.5 hours was enough of the Diego Pavia experience for me.
Mizzou's 2-0 against the Chaos Demon of college football.
Hopefully that's the last time that we have to play.
He has to graduate, so yeah, don't worry about it. Unless we meet him in the playoff.
Yeah.
Playoff? Playoff? We're talking playoff? Yeah, and after this performance, I don't know. Yeah, so look, we watched the game. If you didn't watch the game, Missouri won 30-27 in double overtime. I think this might have been collectively the worst Missouri performance in a win of the Eli Drinkwitz tenure. Can you name one worse, or can you name a loss that was worse than this?
I cannot name a more frustrating win.
Yeah,
for sure.
Middle last year.
Tennessee State would have been the only one that I can think of that comes close. And the reason is because if they played like this in any previous year of his tenure, they would have lost the game. Thankfully, the infrastructure that Eli Drinkwitz has built was strong enough to withstand a pretty abysmal showing from him, to be honest, from the offensive coaching staff, from the offense in general. To Drinkwitz's credit, they withstood that because of the infrastructure that he built. That had not yet been built in 2022, 2021, years that they would have lost this game. And probably, if they played this way, would have lost it by a couple of touchdowns, at least 10 points. But this was, I'm struggling to think of a Mizzou win that felt this dirty. It would have had to go back to the aughts with, maybe like a really gross win with Brad Smith as the quarterback. But back then, you're just happy to win as whatever games you can get. And I can't even think of the one specifically. I'm just thinking it's been that long. Maybe the early Chase Daniel era.
Where 2010 Iowa State, 14-0.
Yeah. Wait, was that the final of that game?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Or James Franklin 2011 Miami. I think that one was like 14-10.
Yeah,
maybe
that sounds about right. Yeah, it would have been that long if you take out Middle Tennessee State, which even with that game, they at least felt like they
17-6. Sorry, so that was 17-6 Missouri over Miami. So I don't know.
Okay, still not great. At least the Middle Tennessee State game, they held the lead the whole time, and it was way closer than you wanted it to be, but they were, they had the lead the whole time. And it really took a Middle Tennessee State score to cut it to the one-score game. This was never more than a one-score game at any point in time. And there were real legitimate spots where Mizzou should have lost the game. This game, which was not the case in that game. So this one's right up at the top. At the top.
All right, so let's start at the top then. Eli Drinkwitz. Adventures in coaching with Eli. Where to start? The one that got replayed the most was late in the second quarter on their 47-yard line. They call a pass. Eli says, "We're going for it." Calls a pass. Gets sacked by a defender who was not even set at the beginning of the play. Vanderbilt gets the ball, has 8 seconds to throw a pass, does so successfully, and then their kicker nails like a 55-yarder to give them 3 points at the end of the first half. 3 points with which then kept them in the game for basically the rest of the game when it should not have been there, where they were playing to get out of a tie rather than to play to tie or take the lead. Those are 3 free points. I see everybody blaming Brady Cook for taking a sack. Nay, blame Eli Drinkwitz for whatever 20-sided die he rolled to figure out to do that. When 2 fourth downs before, he tucked tail and tried to kick it. I think that's the biggest one. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the sack. I'm not going to put Brady Cook, give Brady Cook blame on that sack. It happened very fast. It was clear that they didn't know what was going on. There was no one open. It's not like he was missing open receivers on that play. He took it, he stepped back, looked down the field, and he got sacked. So the call to go for it in the first place was strange. They didn't really have any type of plan in terms of what they wanted to do with the clock. Did they want to run the clock all the way down? And then throw up a Hail Mary, which they didn't do because they left plenty of time on the clock for Vanderbilt to come back and score. Did they want to hurry up and get a first down so they could still try to score? Because even if they converted that first down, they still are left with 10 seconds left max. Yes, they had a couple timeouts, but they would have left with maybe one more play before they're kicking a really long field goal themselves against the wind, because I'm pretty sure the wind was blowing north today. There was just no plan. There was no plan there. It seemed very off the cuff. And when Eli Drinkwitz is off the cuff, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end well. So that was poor. That was at least the first big glaring issue for him. That was not the only coaching staff blunder by any means, but it was one of the biggest, and it very easily and probably should have cost them this game. Yeah. That was a 3-point turnaround where if you just punt the ball away, you go into the half tied. Mizzou was +3 in the second half. They might have they win the game in regulation.
Yeah.
Instead, they go. That's 3 points that you can't get back. So
and he just selectively got gutsy because fourth downs within reasonable within the red zone, he chose to kick field goals. Yeah. One of which missed. So I don't know. He was all over the place. Haphazard is what I would describe his thought process in this game. It didn't make any sense. There's no continuity through it, and obviously things change as the game goes along. But you're going to be conservative early and then choose to go for it. I don't and not really just understand basic math. So that was not great. The other one. Wow, that thought just flew right out of my head. In the fourth quarter, what was the other thing that he screwed up on?
Well, we were at fourth down, midfield, 4th and 1. A very similar situation.
The Eli Drinkwitz fourth down play. That
much more time left on the clock. I think there was probably five plus minutes on the clock.
Yeah. He tries to draw him offside.
Ran up to everyone in the building knew they were not going to run a play. They were going to try to draw them offside. They did a little try to draw them offsides. Didn't work. There was still 13 seconds left on the clock, on the play clock. The game clock was not moving at all. 13 seconds left. They call timeout. If you're going to do it, if you're going to try to get them to jump off sides, do it some more. Do it 10 more seconds. You still have 10 more seconds to try to get them to drop off sides. They didn't. They did their one little motion and hut, and then it didn't work, and then they bailed. They wasted a timeout, which would have been very nice to have. It would have been very nice to have when they punted it away, pinned him down on the 2. And I actually was misremembering. There was not 5.5 minutes. There was less than a minute in this juncture when they pinned it down inside the 5. Great punt, by the way. They stop him on the next down immediately. 3-yard gain, call timeout because we want to try to either at best or at worst make them punt out of their own end zone. At best, maybe get the ball back with a few seconds left. And then they do it again. But then Vandy gets wise to that. They do some simple math. Oh, we can just take 2 knees, and it doesn't matter if they call their third timeout because we can run the clock out. It would have been nice to have that third timeout because then they very well could have forced the punt, gotten Luther, who had several or at least 2 different very good returns today already, give him a chance to run it back, and who knows what happens. But you don't get to see it. So it was odd. It was odd on both ends. The decision to do the run up, draw him offsides thing, which never works anyway, and then to call the timeout. If you're going to punt it, just punt it.
Just punt it.
Or take the delay of game. 5 yards there means nothing. You're just, if nothing, it makes it easier for Luke Bauer to boot it as far as he wants to, as opposed to try to finesse it in there, which it turned out well anyway in terms of the punt. But go for it or punt it. I don't know.
There's gonna be some day when they're going to do this stupid play. They're going to run up. They're going to try and hike it. Defense is not going to jump. They're going to motion. They're going to do it again. Defense isn't going to jump. Brady Cook's going to look over, and in my brain at that point, they are going to snap it to the running back, and he's going to run. Because they've done this over and over and over, and then they just meerkat football to the left and look for what to do. And you've done that so many times, the defense will not jump. But you've never run a play out of the look over to the sideline. That is what I would do. But I am not a $7 million college football coach. So yeah, that was bad. If you were going to take timeouts at the end, save your timeouts. If you're going to punt it anyway, just punt or take the penalty, like you said. That's stupid, very stupid. So not great decision making here, and him continuing to trot out Blake Craig, redshirt freshman kicker. I know I said at the end of the Boston College game, like, this dude's legit. College kickers will always be college kickers. Even Thicker had some unbelievable misses. And so to continuously put him out there, I guess we left 9 points off the board, which would certainly help. Or you could, be aggressive like you were trying to be at the end of the second half. I don't know. It seems really weird. And I don't think Eli Drinkwitz's head was in the game. I don't think it was in this game, because
it just seems like he comes into the game, at least, and it seemed this was also the case early last year. And it seemed like maybe the team just wasn't in these situations late in the game as much as earlier in the year and then in previous years. But he just doesn't have a clear game plan about what he wants to do in those situations ahead of time. And so the first time he's like, go for it, and then it was a disaster. So the next time he backs off, punt it. You have a plan. Know what you're going to do. Either be aggressive or don't. If you're going to be aggressive, then and then preach that all week. Be aggressive and do it, or don't. If you feel better about punting it, I don't. In those situations, I don't know if I agree, but do it. If that's how you're going to play the game, then do it that way. But this mealy-mouthed trying to have your cake and eat it too, and it not working at all for anybody, that's when it leads to disaster. And it was very nearly big time disaster today.
Yeah. So Big Money KP's got a question. He said, did Williams Nwaneri play this season or this game? We have a top prospect from Missouri and we can't find a way to use him. Big Money, he has played this season. He played Dan Keegan answered there. He played against Murray State. He looked fine. He looked like a freshman against Murray State. Problem is that we got some really good pass rushers ahead of him who are established and good. So I do not anticipate Mr. Nwaneri seeing the field all that much in crunch time or normal game time, maybe in blowouts. Yes, he's going to be here for basically 3 years and that's it, but you also need to make sure that he is ready to succeed. Otherwise, he'll be sad and maybe leave for not feeling like he's doing as well or being prepared to do well. And we'll get to defense here eventually, but to answer your question, no, he did not play this game, and he's only played against Murray State so far. So that's the top of the food chain. Let's go one run below that. Let's go offensive coordinator Kirby Moore. Let's get some variety, my man. I don't know what he's going through as far as what he sees in practice, what's working, what's not working. He seems to have gone away from creative play calling last year and to just kind of stubborn, no, this is going to work sort of plays. Outside zone is one, especially the stretch play to the left. The passing game, it seems to be either deep shots or little 3-yard hitches. The crossing routes from last year that worked so well with Luther and with Mookie and with Theo, just stop doing them in the middle of the game. the dives, I thought Connor Charleston had a great game. I don't know who he was going up against, but he was eliminating his defender on almost every running play, and insisted on going out to the sideline. And it really stopped working in the second half. I know that 65-yarder was outside and that came then, but he just gets into this funk where he's like, no, it's going to work this time, while abandoning all the other things that Missouri's offense does well. I don't know how to describe it, but he needs more variety, I guess is my takeaway.
Yeah, this is the second straight game that we've really seen this, especially with the outside zone and specifically to the left side. They ran that 5-6 times in the second half, all of which were stuffed for zero gain to even a loss in a couple instances. It was not working. It wasn't working last week. It does not work to the left side, at least, at all this week. The right side did get a few good gains on the outside stretch play. They never ran that in the second half. They did not run to the right side once. And Armand Minbu was owning people, and they just wouldn't do it. The 65-yarder was actually a dive play right up the middle. Cameron Johnson and Tolleson just absolutely destroyed right up the middle. Huge gap. Noel right up the middle. He had 3 or 4 other runs up the middle too for 10+ yards as well. And when they did it, it worked. And then they needed it on the third down and short, and they brought Carroll in. And this isn't a knock on Carroll, but it was the most obvious play call then in the history of the world. You bring Carroll in, you bring everyone down into a condensed formation. What are we going to do? We're going to run around the middle with our short yardage back. And that's what they did, and they got stuck. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then we get a whole new layer on top of that this week with this quarterback. I don't know if it was I don't want to call it a sweep. It was like a quarterback power play that I have not seen them run once in the year and a third worth of play calls that we've had Kirby Moore call plays. They decided that today was the day they were going to run it 5 different times. It did not work a single time, and they only ran it on 3rd and 4th down and short or in the red zone. It got stuffed every time. After the 3rd time, say, okay, not today. This play is not going to work today. But they didn't. They did it again. And then they did it again, and it got stuffed every single time. So that was the most frustrating part of it all was, I'm just thinking Arrested Development, Tobias Funke meme, but maybe it'll work for us. And it didn't. And it continued to not. And that it was outrageously frustrating.
I don't know if that's the new substitute for the fake pitch up the middle.
I hope not.
I also hope not.
Because they spammed that one to death. And at least that one seemed to work. And it was never actually stopped. This one has been stopped every time. So time to pitch it. Do something else.
Yeah. There's a stubbornness to him. And, people, when you get 9 months talking about how great you are, sometimes you start believing you're great instead of trying to prove that you are great. It's a very natural thing. And I don't know if dealing with success as a successful team is different than dealing with success as a team looking to be successful, hunting. The vibes are different with this offense. And I don't think the scripted plays are all that great. I don't think the continuity from how Kirby calls a game makes a ton of sense. I don't think there's enough variety out there. I don't think that there is enough adapting to what they're seeing. I think it's a lot of we are who we are, and we're going to beat you as who we think we are. And that's easy for me to say, sitting in my basement watching this game rather than spending all this time in practice and watching film and all that stuff. But boy, I am not impressed with the offense, and that's not a huge, shocking statement from anybody in the Mizzou corner right now. But I think a lot of it has to do with how he is managing a game. And I don't know how to change that. I don't know who needs to talk to who, but there needs to be some spice. There needs to be some variety because right now it's boring and it's not working.
Yeah. And I agree with the mentality of we're going to do what we do. And that seems to be what they've rolled out there here in 4 weeks. And that worked fine against 2 much weaker opponents who didn't have a lot of tape this year. Well, we've turned around and we played 2 much better opponents. Still not by any means near the top of the quality of the teams that we will play later on in the season. But it's now on tape. and they're doing the same things that they've done every week, and it gets real easy to defend a team that when you know what to expect, and that seems like what is the case. They're going to run it outside zone. Okay, this is how we can stop that. They're occasionally they're running up the middle, and it actually works really well. Teams have not figured out how to stop that yet, but we don't do it enough. So we stop ourselves because we don't run right up the middle too much. The passing game just seems I don't know what the best way to describe it is. Brady Cook had a quarterback rating of 46.4 today. Now that isn't good for him. He did not perform well. It probably definitely his worst performance since 2022, and probably back to that Kansas State game where he was injured in the game. I can't think of a more underwhelming performance that he's had since then.
Oh, this is his worst performance by far.
He did not play well, but he was also he was put in a lot of situations where he was not set up to succeed. The receivers were not open.
No, might have lost Nathan there. I will point this out because I want to. Aideen is now here, one of our beat writers. So biggest issue for Aideen, me, has to be the red zone. They have to punch it in at a higher rate. Playoff teams don't take field goals in the red zone that much. Finishing drives, boy, you want to talk about a problem. This has been a problem since game 2, really. But let's walk through finishing drives, okay? Against Murray State, they had 10 scoring opportunities, had 5.1 points per opportunity. Okay, good. Against Buffalo, 8 scoring opportunities, 4.8 points per opportunity. All right, not as good, but you had a lot of opportunities. That's great. Against Boston College, 3.9 points per opportunity over 7 opportunities. Okay, you're seeing the line go down, right? Line go down. If you tell me that Mizzou had 2.9 points per scoring opportunity in this game, I'd believe it. You had 3 missed field goals. You had a couple opportunities across the 40 where you just didn't go anywhere. You started in plus territory not once but twice and still couldn't get a touchdown out of it. This goes back to Kirby Moore. This goes back to how he's calling games. The joke is always run the touchdown play, but do something to get creative guys into the end zone. And I know that the deep ball apparently is not there anymore, and that can cover up some things, but it can't cover up everything. That can't be the only reason this isn't working. So, the lack of scoring offense when you are in a scoring opportunity or the red zone specifically, that has to improve. And that's on the offensive coordinator. I don't think there's created enough plays to get those guys into that position. So yeah, it's an issue. Offense isn't going to be able to finish strong, and there's not enough creativity to get them in a position where they can score with points. So we're settling on field goals. You cannot be in a situation where you have all the offensive weapons that you have. You have all the, a quarterback who everyone thinks is going to be great, receivers who are great, and you can't get them schemed up to run around into the end zone. You can't scheme anything up to get, a running back into the flat. You can't do that. That is a problem. I don't know how else they're going to be able to do it. So that is just something that we're going to have to deal with. And, it's until they can show that they can find a way to finish with touchdowns, we are just going to have to assume that they are not going to be able to do that. And Blake Craig is going to get tried out 3 times a game. And then we have to hope that we get a good Blake game instead of a bad Blake game. Because you can have a bad Blake game against Vanderbilt. You cannot do that against Texas A&M. You cannot do that against, hell, even South Carolina or Mississippi State. You just cannot do that. So however they need to figure out their scripting, if they need to run red zone offense drills like just all practice all week, fine, do that. But they have to do something different than what they're currently doing. And if they're waiting for the bye week to do that, here it is. Because you have to get better. It has to get better. Okay, Hurst, are you alive now? Are we safe?
Internet is apparently Saturday nights is when it goes out to party. So I think we're hopefully back and running, but we'll see. But the red zone play calling, terrible. I go back to my initial notes. You had a Cook keeper, which we already discussed, was terrible every time, and this was the first or second time they tried that on first down. That was stuffed. Then you had a run up the middle stuffed, and then a throw to a completely covered receiver. over and over. Like, and the times they did throw the ball in the red zone, no one was open because they would just run up the middle, especially like go to the second overtime, the last play before the field goal. It was Burden running straight down the middle. I think he was double, if not triple covered at that point because they just left him wide open. The time before, there was just no creativity in finding ways to get receivers open, and that was kind of the opposite. Even going back to 2022, 2021, when Drinkwitz was calling the plays, and I'm not saying I want that to come back. But that's the one way they did score in the red zone is when he was able to scheme guys open, a tight end open.
Obviously, we've talked about Brady Cook. He did not have a good game. This might have been his worst game, and we are counting the K-State game where he got injured. Well, not that we knew it at the time, but like we eventually found out that he was going to be injured. I think this one is right up there with them. Obviously, the Auburn game in 22 wasn't great either. But again, he was injured, so that was a limitation that he had. Brady Cook did not have a good game. This is not some long-term indicator of who Brady Cook can be as a quarterback. We've seen what he can do. We've seen good Brady Cook, even last year. And, we've seen good Brady Cook this year. Against overmatched competition, sure, but like he's still there. Even against Boston College, I didn't think he had a bad game. It's just, it kind of goes back to scheme and like how they wanted to distribute the ball. He did not have a good game, either running or passing. And I think it absolutely affected the way that Missouri felt like they could call the game or what they could believe that they could get. So, yes, this was a bad Brady Cook game. No, he is not a bum. No, he is not the worst SEC quarterback. No, we don't need to make a change. Also, we have no one else to change to. Drew Pine is not the answer. I'm sorry. So you can feel upset about his performance. Let's not extrapolate that to the rest of his career. It's not going to be the problem, but it was not good today. He was not able to get creative with his legs to salvage any third downs. He was not able to run through open defenses to get yardage needed. He was ineffective as a runner, ineffective as a creative, ineffective as a passer. I know Dan Keegan brought this up in our chat, and I know I'm going to kind of steal some of his thunder for a piece. We're not going to talk all about it, Dan. I promise. The headset communication. It does seem like Mizzou is moving much slower this year. And not that there's some rocket-paced offense. It does feel like they are moving slower. And I have wondered if it's because Kirby's on the headset telling him, hey, here's the play. Also look out for blah, 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 blah. And then it turns off at 15. And then Brady's going, okay, so what do we got? And I got to think about this. And okay, here we go. Obviously impossible to tell. Even if you had Brady Cook or Kirby Moore in a dark room, they would not tell you, yeah, this sucks. I don't know if that's the answer, but I do wonder what the benefits of headset communication are, other than stealing signals, which, okay, whatever. What are the benefits, and do they think it's working? Because I do wonder if Kirby's a little too micromanaging on what he needs to look for, and that headset communication is actually setting him back. But I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we got to look at, when you're looking at the offense holistically, what is different from last year? Minus a couple offensive line positions, everything else is the same. So the coaches are the same, the quarterback's the same, the wide receivers are the same. There's no real reason why this offense should have taken a step back. So what new? What can we look into it that's new? Is it entirely on two new offensive linemen? No, definitely not. They played fine. Have they been amazing? No, they could play better, but that is not the reason why this offense has taken a big step back so far this season. So what other things have changed? I think that is one that you could look at. Is that the reason? I don't know, but it's something different. It's something to explore. This is what you use the bye week for, and I think this is a wonderful time for a bye week. About as good a time as you could possibly get for a bye week to really what's the word I'm looking for? Reassess. There we go. Reassess the entire operation of the team. What are we doing on a down and down out basis? What knobs do we need to turn? What buttons do we need to push to make this just a smoother operation across the board? Because it's just clunky. It's clunky.
Ryan Owen says victory poncho. I am wearing Tennessee State champs right? Because
Yep.
anytime you play a team from Tennessee and you're
That
Missouri,
works. That works. That is a inside joke. I wore my victory poncho to the game today, the same one that I put on at the end of the game when Harrison Mevis made his 61-yard field goal against Kansas State. I donned it as the Vanderbilt kicker was coming out for the second overtime. Put it
good.
on because it had a little sprinkle coming out. I was
Yep.
like, throw the poncho on, shanked it. So
Victory
I
poncho.
guess I've got to bring it with me for every game, regardless of whether it's rainy or not. In the case that there's a big kick that needs to be made and or missed.
Well, it's funny because on the broadcast, the sideline reporter, I forget her name, I think it was Taylor. She's like, "Hey guys, just want to let you know, it's been dry all game and it's starting to sprinkle, so maybe that'll have an effect on the game." And then literally 4 seconds later, whack, there it goes off to the left. So, yeah, it is required that you have to bring the poncho, and don't just use it sparingly. We cannot use all the mojo all at once. But yeah, clutch field goals, put that baby on, throw them off, throw out the hex. We have enough curses in Faroe. We might as well add victory poncho on top of that. Okay, so we've talked about Eli Drinkwitz at the top. That stunk. Kirby Moore, the offensive coordinator, that stunk. Brady Cook had a stinky game. Not a stinky quarterback, had a stinky game. What else sucked, Hurst?
Well, I mean, what we can get to what did okay. Well, let's transition to the defense. The defense did not suck. The 65-yard touchdown pass, which is by far the longest play that they're probably going to have, Vanderbilt's going to have the rest of the season and have had this season by far. That sucked. So we can, if we want to transition seamlessly, we'll say that play sucked. The rest of the defense was good. They played well enough to win the game, and they're really the reason why Mizzou won the game, because they could have easily laid down and given up a touchdown there in the fourth quarter. They were on the field a lot in the second half. But they played well. They did let Diego Pavia get out of the pocket a few times, but we knew that was going to happen. But they made the big plays. Chris McClellan had some massive sacks, deflected passes, just really well-timed big plays for sure. Secondary, other than that one big blow up, which we'll need to we'll go back and rewatch to see who really, was it just pride getting burned? Was there a safety that wasn't where he was supposed to be? Not sure yet. Other than that, secondary played well. Khalil Jacobs had played better later in the game, but he had a couple big missed tackles earlier in the game, which I think extended a drive or two. But overall, on the whole, the defense played well enough to win, and that's what you're hoping to do. I mean, they weren't dominant, but they were good.
Yeah, defensive line, man, swatting down passes. It was great. That's why Williams Winery is not playing, because the defensive line is really freaking good, and they can come at you in waves. So third teamers probably not, but second teamers sure. I like the linebackers. I thought Khalil Jacobs, when he was sent on a blitz, was incredibly effective. He rushed a lot of those passes, or he just disrupted the play by his presence. So yeah, I was good. And there were a couple times when, like, the front six really just jailbroke the offensive line and stopped whatever they were trying to do. So it was good. And yeah, the secondary is always going to be the spotlight, right? That's what we're trying to find out. So close to 2 picks all game, so close. If not for a heroic offensive pass interference from that one guy to save the game, or extend the game, I should say. And then Dalen Carnell was really close to one as well. And actually Sidney Williams was too. So almost 3 picks. Yeah, I thought the safeties played well. I thought the corners were adequate. Drayden Norwood had some big open field tackles, which was nice. Defense was not the problem. And yeah, you're going to have a busted coverage here and there, but given the quarterback they were playing against, this could have gone so much worse. And they really stepped up and minimized the damage that he could do, which that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, I mean, looking at these stats a little bit, what was something we talked about on Wednesday that made Diego Pavia so annoying and or difficult to play was he's really good at getting just enough yards to get the first down on third down. Third down rate 4 for 14. Vanderbilt was 4 for 14 on third down today, which is outstanding for the defense. On third down, they only converted to first downs 4 times out of the 14 chances. They didn't attempt any fourth down plays. So they got off the field when they got to third down. They got off the field, and that's how Vanderbilt can hurt you. Is if they on 3rd and 3 they get 4 yards, 3rd and 2 they get 3 yards over and over and over again. They did give up a few big plays, the long run down the sideline for Pavia, the long passes we talked about. But overall, 324 total yards. You're going to take that against an SEC team. You're going to take 324 total yards, 178 passing yards, 146 rushing yards. That's good. That's a good performance. And if the offense had done what we know that they're theoretically capable of doing, this would have been a 17-point win. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and they were squeaking it out the end.
Oh my
but
God.
the defense put them in a spot to win.
Eli Stowers, their tight end. I don't know how you pronounce it. 7 catches, 57 yards. No other receiver had more than 1 catch.
Yeah, and he's their leading receiver coming into the game anyway, so you knew they were going to go to him as much as they could.
He's a converted 4-star quarterback. He used to play at Texas A&M. But yeah, Diego Pavia had 84 yards. That is non-sack adjusted. Cedric Alexander, who was their leading rusher, 52. AJ Newberry, 18. Yeah, this is very manageable. This is the type of defensive performance that you should expect to win. Flat out. Just the offense was bad. It's very bad. I'm trying to do mental math on the fly here. I'm thinking this might be 30% overall success rate for Missouri. Again, I need to watch it again, but that is bad. 3 for 10 on passes, 15 yards downfield. 3 for 6 on 3rd and short. Yeah. I think that's something that we need to circle right there.
And 7 for 17 in general on 3rd down. But yeah, the 3 for 6 on 3rd and short, I think that goes straight into back to the red zone conversation that we were already having.
Yeah.
The inability to scheme up or call the right plays when they need to get 3 or 4 yards, whether they're passing the ball when they should be running it, whether they're running into a loaded box, or they're running the outside zone to the left side, which has gotten stuffed all game, or they're running the quarterback power, which has gotten stuffed all game, but continue to run it over and over again. Whatever it is, it needs to go back to the drawing board and figure that out, because that is where their hang up is, whether it's in the red zone or across midfield. Anytime they get to 3rd and short, or a limited field where they are forced to operate in a condensed set in some way, it's not working out well.
American Pastime and Collectibles, MIZ, a win is a win, no matter how ugly. ZOU, yes. Never, ever apologize for a win. Never overlook a win. Never feel bad about winning. But do wonder how you got there.
I'm not going to give it back. It's ours. No. We got it. We're not giving it back. It just feels a little dirty. But
it feels dirty. But the real thing you need to do is analyze how we got there. How are we in a situation where we have to feel bad about this, or we have to tell ourselves it's okay to win? That is what you need to do. We're never apologizing for the win, but you got to figure out how we got to that point. So I agree. When BK came on for the preseason, his preseason takes, we had been talking about his experience with the Chiefs before we even hit the mic. We were talking about his experience with the Chiefs and how the first Super Bowl run was orgasmic, and the second one was like almost like heart palpitations. And you got to the same point. It was the exact same outcome, but one was fun because you didn't anticipate it, and the second one was laborious because you had the expectations. And now it's like, well, now we have to do it again. And this is always the case with sports. Once you had success, boy, now we just expect you to keep being successful. And he said on the show, and he was right. Last year was fun. Mizzou was the underdog gunning for the big wins and coming out of nowhere. This year, not as fun, because now you expect to blow teams out. Completely disregarding the fact that Alabama has desensitized to the fact that great college teams still stink. That's the beauty of college sports. that they are so talented that they can do things that you would never even imagine, and yet so dumb that they'll do the silliest mistakes and completely fumble over their own jockstrap against terrible teams. That's why college sports are fun. So don't let Alabama or even Georgia make you think that one successful season of Missouri football equals blowout city for every opponent that they go against. That's just never going to be the case. And to the point, Georgia barely eked by Kentucky, who stinks. They stink. But it doesn't feel good. If this game happened last year, we had this game last year. It's called Middle Tennessee, or it was called Florida. Like, you're going, oh, wow, what a gritty win by this underdog plucky team. And now it's, oh, what is our playoff caliber team doing? It's different. It's different. And if we want to judge 24 Mizzou by Vanderbilt, okay, we probably don't think they're a very good team. If we judge 2023 Missouri by Florida, we would also think they're not a very good team, and that team won 11 games. So again, puzzle pieces, you don't know exactly what it is until the whole thing's put together. This was not a happy win. It was still a win, and that doesn't mean that Mizzou's going to play this way forever. Although if they play like this in 2 weeks, Texas A&M is going to blow us out. Just throwing that out there.
To your point, Texas A&M just kicked a field goal, and they are winning. They're beating Bowling Green 23-17 in the fourth quarter. So, yeah. It happened. It can happen to any team, even when they're playing the worst team in the MAC as well. Still a lot of time left in that game, but they're dealing with it as the same as we did, and we're in the clubhouse with a win at this point, and they're probably wishing that they were at this point as well.
Yeah.
So Texas A&M is a significantly better team than Vanderbilt, but they're also not a Goliath either, which means you got it, but it's right there. It's ready to come back. And yes, Ryan, Connor Bazelak is still haunting SEC defenses.
Get a job
as we speak.
Get a job.
Oh
it's
my
time,
God!
Connor. It's time. Go be a coach somewhere. I think you'd be a good coach.
Yeah, I mean he's
got enough. Liked him.
He's got enough playing experience for 3 coaches. So,
boy, yeah. Oh, well, it was a roller coaster of emotion. If that roller coaster was called sadness and stress, then it was a roller coaster of emotion. I was not stressed about Boston College. I figured Mizzou was going to pull away at some point and probably win by double digits. And I thought that all the way until Blake Craig missed his 3rd field goal. I'm like, oh, we're in a world of shit. This is going to go bad. So it's just one of those games, man. This was a clunker by every definition of the word. You had bad play calling. You had bad execution. You had bad luck. You had an opponent that was really playing out of their skulls, and you won in double overtime. So again, when you're clunkers, you're not going to remember this if the team does well afterwards, but man, it was not a good day. It was stressful, baby. It was stressful. Let's talk about this. Does Brady Cook look hurt or gun shy?
It's an interesting thought. I wasn't
Thank you, Mizzou 1755. Thank you for the question.
I wasn't entirely sure if something in his upper body was bothering him, because a lot of those throws that were tipped down, it just looked like his delivery was different. It wasn't the same as normal. It wasn't as over the top, and it resulted in some lower throws and it got a lot of them deflected or batted down today. Some of them, I think they just had defenders in the right spot, but some of them, I felt like in other games he had gotten the ball over the top of those defenders that he didn't today. So, I don't know if that is just how he played today, or if he did, bum up his shoulder. It's hard to say, but he didn't look like prime Brady Cook that we've seen in the past, and he really hasn't looked like that all year. But even especially today, it's not the same guy that we saw play against Tennessee or against LSU, even, or Kansas State of last year.
Yeah. I will say, and this is on your therapy thoughts. I feel I know. I feel like Brady Cook does not throw over the middle anymore. Now, he had one to get to Theo Weiss this game, which looked really well. and it did well. I mean, it went for like 17 or something like that. But it feels like to me, he either reads the middle first and then somewhere else really quickly, or reads it and scrambles, or whatever. I just feel like he is allergic to the middle of the field. So Dan, Adine, Quentin, if you're on this, story idea for you, Brady Cook throwing over the middle the past couple of years. I know that's where his interceptions usually came from. So I don't know if this is Kirby saying, "Hey man, like we just, be smart about going over the middle." And now it's in his head and he's not doing it. It just doesn't feel like it's there. And of course the deep ball isn't there. So, the book is out on this offense until something changes. Play their receivers tight because they're not going very far. Let them go deep because they're not going to catch it, or Cook's not going to hit it. And then just kind of play the outside corners because they're going to call outside zone approximately 17 times a game. And you might get hit once, but you're going to hit them again. So that sucks. That sucks. And you said the bye week came at a perfect time. They need to recalibrate because it feels like this offense is really easy to figure out.
Yeah, and it feels like playing college football 2025, where you find your 4 plays that you think are going to work and you spam them, and then they finally stuff one of them, and then you get really mad and you call the exact same play again a second time, and they get stuffed again, and then you're screaming at the TV when you're the one that called the same play 4 or 5 times in a row, and eventually even the AI is going to figure that out. And unfortunately, SEC defensive coordinators are better than video game AIs, so they're gonna have to figure out something else that works, and some things that stop doing the things that don't work because they haven't figured that out yet either.
Oh, yeah. Dan, our illustrative contributor, looks to me like he, meaning Brady Cook, doesn't look confident to throw guys open. He throws only after they are open. I'm trying to think of the last Missouri quarterback who I felt like confidently threw guys open, and I'm landing on Drew Lock. Would you pick anybody else?
No, it was definitely Drew Lock, and a lot of that was the scheme, at least under Heupel anyway, where he
Yeah.
just you kind of throw to a spot, and you're going to expect that the receiver is going to be there. So a lot of that was, it's hard to even say if he was doing that as much. I think he probably was to some extent, but yeah, it definitely would have been back to him for sure, and before him, probably all the way back to Daniel. James Franklin maybe at times, but
Like would reliably do it. That was one of Blaine Gabbert's big hangups.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that his internal clock was set -2 seconds after Ndamukong Suh broke him in half, but he didn't really throw guys open either. He was, he felt phantom pressure way too fast, and then would not throw it unless he had a clear sight. And I think Chase Daniel did it, but again, that's another kind of timing offense thing. So I don't know. I mean, we've had good quarterbacks. Obviously, that's been the whole thing about Pinkel. But when you think about a guy who can create for his receivers, that's tougher to do. And I don't think anyone's ever accused Cook of being NFL caliber or having that type of arm. But that is something that he needs to do because he has the talented receivers who can get open. I will point out, either third or fourth quarter, they were in. I know they were across the 40. I don't know if they were inside the 20. But they had Burden split out to the right, and they had Weiss on the left. And Burden kind of ran this post, kind of curving on the inside. When you go up for like 20 yards and kind of diagonally go in across the middle. And then Weiss was running kind of a box route to the out. So he went up 10 yards and then ran towards the sideline. And at that moment, Cook chose Weiss, the 10 to 15 yard out, where Burden was probably, if you lofted it to the corner, he was probably going to get it. So that was either he was reading the defense wrong, and maybe the safety would have gone and chased Burden if he hadn't thrown to Weiss. So, I mean, that might be part of it too. But also, he just did not have the confidence to throw it to that corner, which was a deep route, more than 20 yards, and it would have involved leading his guy to a point where he wasn't quite open yet, but was getting there. I mean, that's one play, but it's kind of indicative of what we think of Brady Cook's passing game.
Yeah, last year there were moments and times when he would throw guys open. He could drop, and it wasn't every game, but he had times where he had shown the ability to drop passes in a mid double coverage and find a guy in an open pocket of space that just has either he hasn't taken the shots. There's been one or two there where he's dropped it in. I'm thinking back to maybe it was the Buffalo game. Then Luis had a drop. Maybe it was Murray State. I don't know. He had a really nice throw there, but there've been very few and far between where he's tried to fit the ball in to those tight spaces. Usually it just seems like he comes off it. Oh, they're covered and then moves away. So is it a confidence thing? Is it a health thing where he doesn't feel like he has the arm strength to get in there? I don't know what it is, but they need to figure it out pretty quick because what they're doing now is not working.
Yeah. Let's go through these real quick. Big Mac Pro, Blue Hip Master. Cook looks like he's playing in slow motion. Yeah, I do wonder if he's injured. I don't know if that's the case, but he took some hard hits today, and we've been talking about his ability to throw the ball. So it's a fair question. Inside and out cleaning, the play calling on offense and defense was terrible along with the performance today. I agree with 66% of that. I thought the defense was great. Offense, yeah, it stunk up the joint. I'm with you on that. And then Mizzou 1755 comes back and says, how much is it? Sorry, I'm having a seizure. How much is it that the other teams are going to refuse to let you throw deep, let you have everything shallow, make you run 12 to 15 knowing you'll have a penalty? I mean, okay, so to your point, it is way more efficient to throw the ball than it is to run the ball. And part of that is because there's way more penalties associated with throwing the ball. And this tends to be an offense-friendly kind of sport where the penalties get thrown on the defense more on the offense. So, yeah, it would actually be kind of stupid to let teams just get the 12 to 15 because that makes too much sense. What you're seeing a lot of defenses do now is create a light box. So, like 4 linemen sometimes, usually 3, maybe 2 linebackers, usually 1, and then flood it with defensive backs and invite the offense to run because throwing the ball favors the offense so much more that if you do run, sure, we'll give you 6 or 7 and we'll just keep doing that until you just choose to throw and we have a defense that's set up to knock away the pass. So, if you're going to let them have 12 to 15 yards, I don't think that's the case. I don't think there's a defense coordinator in the country that's going to let you do that. I do think they are not scared of the deep ball. I don't think that their safeties are playing too deep, not like TOO, not TWO, but also too deep. And so they are preparing for Missouri to run the ball. And that's what's making Nate Noel not be as effective in the second half, even if he can burst for 65 here and there. It's what's making Brady Cook's scrambles and or design runs not as effective because they know the deep shot isn't there and they don't really have to sweat it. I don't know how you fix that, Nathan Hurst, but that to me, that's the problem.
Yeah, they are forcing the book is out at this point, and this isn't just for Mizzou, but it's kind of the case across football, even up into the higher levels of the NFL as well. The book is out on how to defend elite and not so elite passing games, modern passing games, and it's to play a cover 2 shell. It's to play soft, light boxes, make a team run the ball until they screw up. And if you do that enough times over the game, they're going to either going to get a penalty to put them behind the chains, or they're going to get into the red zone, like Mizzou got into the red zone multiple times today. And then you can condense the box because there's just a lack of space on the field, and then it's a lot easier to stop the run and the pass at that point, and then force field goals. And if you can do that 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then score a touchdown or 2 instead of kicking a field goal on the other end, then you're going to win a lot of games that way. Yep. It's not just a Mizzou problem, but it is especially a Mizzou problem because they're having a hard time figuring out how to beat that or remain efficient enough that they can carry that through all the way through drives. They are not having problems moving the ball. I don't want that to get lost in the weeds. This team is moving the ball between the 30s very easily, very efficiently. They're having no problems doing that. It's once the field starts getting a little more condensed, once they get into the red zone, that's when the problems are come. And they get stuffed and they'll miss a field goal, or they can kick a field goal and make a field goal. But still, you're going to take 1 for 2 on field goals, but for 3 total points on 2 45-yard drives every day of the week. A defense is going to take that.
That's just
so
efficient.
The only way you're going to get out of that is to run it effectively and keep running it. And when you do throw it, be efficient with it, hit the passes, and finish your drives with touchdowns. That's the only way. And then eventually you're going to score enough touchdowns that the defense has to come up and play more aggressively on you, and that's when you can hit them over the top. But that's not going to happen until you can do that. And Mizzou has shown that, or has yet to show that they can do that this season.
Yeah. So Mizzou 1755 clarified. I should have figured this out, but he said 12 to 15 plays, not yard passes. Yes. Efficiency-based offenses are the offenses that tend to do well. It also is harder to do. It is way easier, as we saw in overtime, to just throw a 20-yard pass for a touchdown. That's easy. You can do that once or twice. Well, other than Mizzou, you can do that 1 to 3 times a game and be just fine. It is teams that can consistently grind 3.3 yards per play and move the chains. Those are the successful offensive teams. That's easier to predict long-term success. It is also harder to do. Making a college quarterback in a college offense be right 15 times is hard. Even the best ones are going to screw that up. That's what defenses want. Yeah, they want you to give them more opportunities to screw you up. So yes, you want to keep them short yardage, even though that's harder to do and better to do. Let's go to Devontae. Eston, this feels to me similar to last year's offense, but now you don't have an automatic field goal when you reach the red zone. Well, today we didn't. Last week we did. Again, it's just college kickers, man. Even the best are, unless you are Hot Rod, Rodrigo Blankenship, unless you're that guy. And even he had misses. It's just, it's tough. And Eli Drinkwitz plays tight games. That's just how he does it. He makes games short, few possessions, few plays. And when you do that, you need to have 3 things. You need to have, number 1, an elite quarterback. Number 2, you need to have sound tactics, like end of half management, end of game management, downs management, and you need to have an incredible kicker. And last year, they had all 3. And this year, 2 of 3, depends on the week, 1 out of 3.
We haven't seen elite quarterback play yet. We've seen it before. Yeah. We haven't seen it yet. Yeah. This was the first real poor, end of half, end of game clock management that we've seen this season. Thankfully, we haven't really had a lot of stressful end of half and end of game clocks to deal with yet. Mm-hmm. But this is the first one today. And field goal kicking is, it's going to be spotty at best this year. It's clear he has the talent. That last one, he was so in his head, it just wasn't. He was just in his head. He's a freshman. He has the talent. He's going to be a good kicker for this team. This year is going to be a learning curve for him, and that's just the way it is. And that's something that Drinkwitz needs to know and needs to adjust for in how he calls his game.
He's not going to adjust for that. Come on, he's not going to do
that. No, but he should. And that, that.
Yeah. Oh, man. He's for all the credit I'll give him for the changes that he has made. He has not gotten away from 9 possessions, field goals, and just white knuckle of victory. That's what he does. That's not even a Boise thing. I don't know where he learned that. It's just a him thing, I guess. But that's where we're at. Is this the worst you ever felt after a win? That can't be the case, but for me, it feels like it is.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of experience, a lot of drawing on feeling bad after wins. Usually I feel, if at best, or at worst, relieved. I mean, I guess relief is something I feel right now. It's not the only thing I feel. I just, that tinge of just like, I jumped in a whole big mud pit and I need to take a shower. And that's what I'm going to do as soon as we get off here, is go take a shower, because I just feel dirty. This whole game has made me feel dirty.
This is a game I had not considered, probably because I've brushed it out of my mind.
Yeah, that's a great call.
UConn 9-6. Yeah, that was a bad one.
And that was a foretelling of things to come that season as well. So, it was hopefully it does not. This game doesn't mean that we're. I mean, we're already 4-0, which is as almost as many wins as they won that season to begin with. That was 2015, if I'm remembering correctly.
It is. Yep, they had 5 wins that year.
Yeah, and we're already at 4-0, so that's one positive there. But that was a brutal game to watch.
We also won a conference game, which I don't think they did. So
Yes.
Well,
And
they won what? They
that
won
team,
South Carolina. They won.
yeah, but that team did lose to Vanderbilt. So
They
we
did.
got, we got that going for us.
Yeah, we had Matty Mock. Don't miss that guy. Well, Mizzou did it. They are undefeated. I don't think they're going to fall out of the top 10. So you're going to find yourself in a situation where a top 10 Missouri team is going to Texas A&M. Not next week, the week after that. Things to clean up. That's probably the saddest I've ever heard Eli Drinkwitz in a post-game interview. I promise you he's feeling it. I promise you whatever you're feeling now, he is feeling it amplified 10. Because it's his job. We're watching this for entertainment. This is his job. So he's not a dumb man. He has been stubborn in the past, but he is not, I don't think he's in a situation where he's sticking his head in the sand and saying everything's fine because we got the dub. He seemed incredibly disappointed. First thing he said was credit to Clark Lee. And then he said, credit to his players. And there was no joy in his heart. There's no levity in his voice. He signed off with, we need to be better. And I think that was, I think he meant every syllable of him saying that. So I am really curious to see how this team comes out against Texas A&M. I would love to be a fly on the wall for the meetings this week, next week, heading into the game. I don't know what they do. I don't know if it's stadium steps or, extra drilling of red zone or whatever. But I think this team has had not one, but two very close calls against teams that are better than we anticipated heading into the season, but are not as good as Missouri. And I think that should be motivation to improve. We will see how they adapt. At the end of the day, you just have to win. You have to have one more point than your opponent when the clock says 0. And so far, Missouri has exceeded that minimum expectation. But you would hope to see a little bit more heading into the toughest stretch of the season, where you go to A&M, then to UMass, then an early homecoming game against Auburn, followed up with a trip to Alabama. You would have liked to have seen a couple 30-point blowouts, and we just have not seen that. But maybe we don't need to see that. Only time will tell. This will either be a situation like last year, where Middle and Florida were just blips on a very happy 11-win season, or where we look at this as a 2015 UConn and go, oh yeah, this was the beginning of the end. And we don't have enough information now to figure that out. And we're really not going to have enough information for that until we get to the end of the season. But we will be there the entire time. Hope we all join with us to go through this journey. Thank you for joining us live. I opened it up to everybody, non-subscribers today, just because when we knew we were in a lot of emotional territory right now. If you enjoyed this, please join Rock M Plus. We'd love to have you. We have all sorts of inside information that we keep on there that we can't put on a public site. In-depth analysis of basketball and recruiting, in-depth analysis of advanced stats and football stories as well. So, and plus you get early access to the podcast and of course access to the live show, in which obviously you can ask questions and we will answer them live. So if you enjoyed that, please join us on Rock and Plus. We'd love to have you. As for now, that's going to be the show for today. And we appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us live in our post-game show. We would love for you to give us a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback. And then, of course, you can just download our show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love that stuff. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Nate G. Edwards. Nathan Hurst is at Burst to Hurst. Of course, you can follow the Rockin' Flagship at Rockin' Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rockin' Radio. We appreciate you tuning in live this time. We'll try to do better next time. Until then, MIZ.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcasts app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. We'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.